So Miss Rachel is getting attacked on social media, and I think it's very important that content creators talk about this because it's actually quite serious. Let's talk about it. For those of you who don't know who Miss Rachel is a educational YouTube creator. And for context on what she basically does, remember Blue's Clues, Dora the Explorer, things like that, those kind of educational TV shows. That's basically what Miss Rachel does, except she does it for YouTube audience, because, kids are on their iPads nowadays. They know about YouTube and things like that to help the children adapt and not fall into any brain rot and things of that nature.
Three Labubu's doing 6-7 at McDonald's drive-thru. You can say that. I don't know.
6-7. She actually helps these kids with educational stuff like that. Just like how we did with cable back in the day. She does it on YouTube and she teaches them their 1, 2, 3s, their phonics, their ABCs, all things like that. Making kids have an easier time. There's been a lot of testimonials talking about how good her work is for other people's children. And safe to say she's done an amazing job. And I actually think it's very good what she's doing. I think she should keep it up. However, recently she's been facing a lot of attacks from bad people. Now, a lot of people are saying this by the Jewish people, but this is not by Jewish people. I think it's very important, like I've always said on this channel, that we have to divide the two groups of people. There's Jewish people and there's Zionists. Jewish people aren't causing the problems. It's Zionists. So when we talk about this situation, I want to make it perfectly clear. It's not Jewish people. It's Zionists.
So what brings you here today? To support Palestinian rights. We as Jews are embarrassed what's happening there in the state of Israel in the Jewish name. And what's your message to the people of Palestine? They shouldn't give up the struggle. They should continue to fight and not give up the struggle against the state of Israel, because by the end, Palestine will be free, because this is truth. Will succeed by the end. What's your message to the people of Palestine?
They should know. We feel very shame what's going on there, especially they're doing everything in our name. In the name of Jews, in the name of the Torah, in the name of God. It's so shameful. We are with you. You have to know. The Zionists are strong. We are weak. But God is on our side. At the end of the day, the Palestinian flag will be on all Palestine, from the river to the sea.
Jews who are true to the Torah around the world have always been opposed to Zionism, to the state of Israel, because it's antithetical to our belief to have a Jewish state at all. Now that the state of Israel has been created in 1948 in Palestine by occupying another people's land, oppressing the entire people, and the continuation of killing and stealing the land is in total violation of not only human rights violations and international norms, but it also goes against the very basics of Jewish belief. So we are out here to stand in sympathy with the people who suffer in Palestine, and to say that everything that Israel does to the Palestinians is illegitimate, goes against the Jewish religion. The only solution is to bring hopefully a peaceful dismantlement to the state of Israel, which is the obstacle to peace, because prior to the creation of the state of Israel there was peace in Palestine.
I've covered my back here now, but let's get into it. Right, so Zionists have basically done this poll and this kind of bullying tactic on Miss Rachel, and they've put this list of people, content creators this year, and they titled them Anti-Semites of the Year. And what this whole thing is, Anti-Semites of the Year, is basically naming and shaming people who are anti-Semitic. Now, say what you will about the other people. Yeah, they've said other stuff about, Jewish people that aren't exactly the best or sounded the best, or they've not constructed their stuff properly. However, Miss Rachel one is a very, very concerning one for the simple fact that all Miss Rachel did, for context, is bring a Palestinian child onto her show. And this Palestinian child was an amputee. And it was a very heartwarming episode where she was, showing other kids what's happening in Palestine and actually offering help to this Palestinian child. In addition to that, also giving some of the profit she made from that episode and other episodes to Palestine. basically giving back and helping, because I think we'd all agree that what's happening in Palestine is very bad. Just like there is a lot of bad stuff happening around the world, but obviously we're talking about Palestine in this video. Yeah, they need help, and she done her part, and she was raising awareness about it. However, the Zionists did not like that. And what they ended up doing was doing this weird thing where they have now put her on this list of anti-Semite of the year, which is nothing more than a bullying strategy. You see, with Zionists, what I notice is that the stronger your influence, the stronger your brand is, the more eager they are to tear you down, because they know your influence is going to influence people to do the right thing. And in Miss Rachel's case, she could have easily kept quiet and just carried on doing her content creation. However, what I respect about her is that she actually stood up and spoke about this issue, whether it's to kids to explain to them the softcore version of the situation, and also raise awareness to adults who are also watching in the background with their children. Because of her influence, what they have now done is now obviously did this list. And you would think that's not a big deal. I just thought, hey, at this point, anyone can be called an anti-Semite if Miss Rachel is being called an anti-Semite. But it gets worse, because then I saw a recent Instagram post about her explaining that this situation is messing up with her career. They're basically trying to blacklist her and bully her out of the industry, to the point that her channel fails, her influence fails, her notoriety fails. She's not going to be recognized anywhere. She won't be able to feed her own family or feed her children or give contributions to charities that she already gives to. All that's to say is that they're stripping her power away. And she spoke about this on social media, saying that this is bad. And what's even worse about this situation is that her child overheard it, about how she's worried about the safety of her family overall. She was saying that to her husband, and as a result, the child heard that, and the child got upset. And now the child has this thing where they are also upset and worried about their health and their safety and things like that. Now, when we look at this whole situation, it's sad that Miss Rachel had to reach out on social media to say this, because I was thinking the list wasn't going to be much of a big deal. Most people know who Miss Rachel is. However, if some people aren't on social media like that, they are probably going to fall for this propaganda without even doing any research. That's the kind of landscape we're in right now. Things are going to be said on social media about somebody else, and no one's going to do their thorough research to check if that is true. And in this case, that's actually happening to her, where they are doing this bullying tactic. I saw a few videos that also reacted to the situation. Let's watch them.
Breaking news, everyone. The group Stop Antisemitism just dropped their Anti-Semite of the Year nominees, and this list is wild. Not a single person on it has ever attacked Jewish people as a group. Every one of them is simply calling out Israel's actions in Gaza and the massive influence Israel has over American politics. The biggest shock, Miss Rachel of Miss Rachel's kids videos made the list. All she ever did was beg for the bombing and starvation of children in Gaza to stop, and asked to help get those kids medical care. She never once said a bad word about Jews, only about the Israeli government's relentless bombing of civilians. Apparently caring about dying kids is now anti-Semitism. And here's the funny part. Biggest Israel hater, Nick Fuentes, was left off the list. He even posted, "Why wasn't I nominated for Anti-Semite of the Year?" Stop Anti-Semitism replied, "We've been tracking Nick since 2019. He was a finalist before, but this year we wanted to spotlight other people spreading hate." So let me get this straight. A guy who openly hates Israel nonstop on his show didn't make the cut, but a children's YouTuber who wants to save Palestinian kids did. The message is crystal clear. If you criticize Israel, no matter how gently or humanely, you are the real anti-Semite. If you're a far-right extremist who actually despises Israel, maybe you'll get a pass this year. This isn't about fighting anti-Semitism anymore. It's about silencing anyone who speaks up for Palestinian children and the Palestinian plight.
Organization Stop Antisemitism is now going after the children's YouTuber, Miss Rachel, and accusing her of spreading Hamas propaganda. If you want to know what that pro-Hamas propaganda is, take a listen.
This is a prayer for children in Gaza. This is a prayer for children in Israel. This is a prayer for all the children. Please stop hurting them. This is a prayer for all the civilians. This is a prayer for all the hostages. This is a prayer for all the innocent. Please stop hurting them. This is a prayer for all the leaders. This is a prayer for all in charge. This is a prayer for all the presidents. Please stop hurting them.
Being 100% serious right now, this is not even a joke. The director of Stop Antisemitism stated, given the vast sum of foreign funds that have been directed towards propagandizing our young people on college campuses, we suspect that there is a similar dynamic in the online influencer space. This is the funniest part about all of this. We urge you and your office to investigate whether or not Miss Rachel is being remunerated to disseminate Hamas-aligned propaganda to her millions of followers, as this may violate the Foreign Agents Registration Act, FARA. You know, the same Foreign Agents Registration Act that John F. Kennedy was trying to force AIPAC to register with, and they refused. Not to offend anybody, I don't mean to sound anti-Semitic, but I don't think it's a good idea to blow the brains out of little kids.
When we look at this situation, it is nothing more than disgusting. And it's also a big warning, but also not a warning to a lot of people out there. What do you have to understand about this world that we live in, right? When you speak the truth, when you speak out against injustice, when you speak out about things that should be spoken out about, 9 times out of 10, you're going to get in trouble. That's just the world we live in. We are not in a world where you can speak the truth and it's going to be hand claps. You know, eventually, if you intend to make a difference with the world, the higher you get in power, the more truth that you speak, and the less that they control you, they're going to try and bully you and destroy you, whether it be mentally, financially, mess up your brand reputation, whatever it is. They will stop at nothing to destroy you, even if you're a good person. And the reason why I'm using Miss Rachel is because, like I said, all she does is make content creation for kids to make their learning easier. But you have to understand it's about her influence. And because her influence is so strong, they will stop at nothing to drag her to the mud until she is silent. That's what this is. It's a bullying scandal, right? And this is what's going to keep happening to people that speak out. Because when they do it to Miss Rachel, the message they're trying to send to anybody else is, if you speak out, you're going to end up like Miss Rachel. Yes, even someone as big as Miss Rachel can get put down by us. So you better keep quiet because you don't have her brand reputation. You don't have the notoriety. You're more easy to dispose of because you're not as big as her. And at that point, no one's going to want to speak out. I think we can all agree that there's a lot of shady stuff going on in the world nowadays. A lot of shady stuff going on in the world nowadays. But none of us really speak out. Because if we talk in between our four walls, we tell each other. I mean, if we do that, though, they're going to unalive us. You know what I'm saying? If we do that, or we say that, they're going to come for us. How messed up is that? And this isn't my video telling you guys to not speak the truth. I think you should be ready to die on speaking the truth, to be honest with you. Hence why I've made this channel. I don't believe in sitting back and watching the world burn and not doing anything. You know, my channel at the end of the day is to spread the word of God and tell you guys about the stuff that's going on, because there's a lot of people spreading misinformation. But at the same time, I know the risks of it and I'm prepared for it. You know, if that ever is to happen to me, God forbid, because I know God's protected me. But that's the consequences of telling the truth. Even Jesus himself, you got to understand, if they crucified Jesus for healing people, this is what they crucified Jesus for, right? Jesus would heal people, bring people back from the dead, talk about peace, love, and prosperity, and how we should all treat each other with love. And these people are like, yeah, nah, we got to get rid of this guy. That's what they unalive Jesus for. So if they unalive Jesus for that, what do you think they're going to do to you? And this isn't for me to scare you. Do you get what I'm saying? You just have to be in the mindset of, I'm going to speak the truth and God has got my back. This is the real life that's happening here. You speak the truth, you're going to get in trouble. That's just how it's going to be. You speak the truth, there is a big risk to it. But at the end of the day, are you going to just be compliant like they want you to be? Or are you going to stand up and speak the truth like Miss Rachel and other people are trying to speak the truth? We cannot allow people to bully us into silence. Because if we allow people to bully us into silence, then they're going to get away with a lot of other rubbish that we should be speaking about, but we're not speaking about it. You understand? The time for staying in the closet and hiding is over. And if you're a person who is staying in the closet and hiding, don't be ashamed. Not everyone is meant to go out there and speak the truth. It's a scary and intimidating thing. And I'm not going to make anyone feel like they are less than for keeping quiet, stand on the sidelines. It's scary. But if you are someone who wants to speak the truth, be aware of the risk and be prepared for it. This is just what's going to happen. But make sure you are very careful as much as you can. And above all else, have God by your side, because that's all you've got right now. It's a messed up world that's happening to all of us. It's very messed up what's happening to Miss Rachel, but I pray that God's got her back to it all, you know? But this is messed up. The ish that's happening in Palestine will always be messed up. No denying. And if they're going to punish her for simply showing through actions what has happened rather than spreading lies, you know, she showed a full example of a little girl who needed an amputated leg. And they're punishing her for that, saying that she's spreading lies. How can you spread lies about a real life example? But they'll do anything to make her look bad, and they'll do anything to make you look bad if you tell the truth. So be mindful. This is the consequences of telling the truth. Tell the truth ain't easy. But there, somebody's got to do it. And whether you want to or not, that's none of my business. But I'm just showing you. You know, when someone's being punished for telling the truth, we have to stand there and speak out against stuff like this. Shout out to Miss Rachel for what she's doing. Shout out to anyone else who's speaking about the truth. You know, we cannot let any of this slide. It's messed up. But what do you guys think about this whole situation? Do you agree with what I have to say? Or do you think this situation is not a big deal? As the case may be, I'm really interested to hear what I have to say. With that being said, God bless, take care, and I'll see you guys next video.